So this same thing I'm doing it in version 2 to put it in a variable and show just to see it. Okay, write same program, writing the word computer on the screen. Start. Now here I'm assigning into a variable using the arrow, the word computer, and then show word, which is a variable. Okay, and end it. So here again, we have the arrow and we have the show. So because we have the show and the arrow, we will need the variable and the screen to dry run this. So we have the screen here and we have the variable called word here. Okay, for this dry run. When we start the dry run, again you go to the beginning, start, then go to the next line which says put the word computer in the variable called word. So here you get the word coming. Then you go to the next line which says show word. Again we are talking about variable, right? There's no double quotes here. If this had double quotes, then the word will appear here. But since this is not double quotes, it's a variable. So what is inside the word, which is computer, comes onto the screen, and then ending. Done. So this is the second version. So I have now shown you two programs and two different versions of each program, one showing numeric and the other one showing alphanumeric. Okay, let's look at a third example. Third example is we are going to write a program to accept two numbers and display the total. So that is, the computer is going to ask two numbers from the user. So the user will type it from the keyboard, the two numbers. The computer is going to add the two number and give the total as whatever. Depending on what the two numbers are, the total will be the addition of those two numbers. Okay, so let's see how to write a flow chart for that, NS chart. You start, right? Now, this is a very important part. I will explain to you after we write the entire flow chart, the requirement for that. Okay, so this is the, basically this is the program or the NS chart that we require to do this particular job. Take two numbers in and display the total. So before I explain this, just look at it. Show command is there, get command is there. So we need the screen as well as we need the variables. And the variables we are used are num1 and num2 only. Those are the two variables we have here. This is a constant just to show on the screen, all that. Right, okay. So therefore we will need the, since both variables and show is there, we need the screen and the variable, okay. So we'll have the num1 variable, num2 variable plus the screen to do this shows. The get and the arrows, there are no arrows here in this case. So the get, you need the screen and the variable. Let's exactly go through that and see. Right, now we are starting the dry run, okay. Then we have the start. Then we go to this. The reason for this is, next thing is we are going to get a number from the user. So if the command just says get a number, the computer will wait on the screen and the screen will be just blank like this. The user from outside trying to interact will know whether the computer is asking for something or what he's going to see, he or she is going to see is only a blank screen. So that is why before we go to the get num1, we are just displaying an alphanumeric constant called enter a number, and that will come on the screen. So when this appears on the screen, user will get alerted, okay, he has to now enter a number. So then after displaying this number, the computer is going to go to the next line and wait. Get num1. Whatever the user is going to type, he is going to wait until he types. The computer will not proceed to the next line until the user types a number and press enter. Okay. So now this get num1 is the one that is going to wait and wait for a number to be entered, and that number will go into this variable called num1. Okay. So now the computer is waiting. So and since the user sees this message, he knows now he has to enter a number. So he will type a number. So he can type any number, right? So we'll just take an example. So he types 7, let's say, and press enter. As soon as he types 7 and press enter, this number 7 will be taken by the variable called num1, whatever you have put in the get. Okay, so the num1 variable is here. So this comes in here. That is because of this get num. So as soon as it gets a number, when the user presses enter, it takes the number and goes to the next line. So the next line we want to take another number. So we are going to give, the user will not know about that. So we are going to provide a message saying enter another number. So when this executes, that message appears. Now the user is again getting alerted. Now he has to enter another number, but the number has to be taken also. As soon as it displays this number, the program will go to the next line, which is to get number 2. So it's now waiting for the second number to be entered. So the user can type whatever the number they want. So in this case, we are taking 4 as an example, and this 4 will be taken by variable called num2, which is here. Okay, so it comes into this. Then according to exercise, we have to add the two numbers and give the total, right? So for that, to get to be a little bit more meaningful, next line we are just giving a heading saying total is. So this line when executes shows on the screen, right? It's a show command. So the total is will be shown here, and it will go to the next line. And the next line says show num1 plus num2. Expressions we have already studied, right? Addition, subtraction, BODMAS rules, pluses, multiplication, division will be done before, and the brackets and all that we have done. So you can put any expression here. So in this case, I just said num1 plus num2 to show. So the num1 and num2 are two numeric variables. So 7 and 4, they will be added and it will show 11. The total of this will be 11. 11 will appear on the screen. Okay, and then you go to the next line, end it, and that is the end of the dry run of this particular exercise. So I have shown you how variables can be taken from this. Now if I re-dry run this and enter a different set of numbers, the total again is going to be based on those two numbers. So we can keep on dry running this any number of times, and every time we can give different values, and this program will actually add those two and give the total here. So just look at this, study this, and see how you understand this. Okay, if you have any doubts, questions, you can always come back on the group and ask. Okay, right, let's look at a final example on this. This is just actually, I'm not doing anything, I just want to show you can write any garbage you want as long as the commands and the syntaxes are okay. So dry run the following and see what happens, just to give you some understanding about how this works. Dry run the following program written in NSChart to understand that you could write whatever you want as long as it follows the NSChart symbols and instructions we agreed to use. That is the display, get, and the arrow. Okay, and those NSChart symbols. So let's see. I'm just now writing without we don't have a requirement. We're just writing some NSChart and we're going to dry run that. Okay, I just put start. Then I am assigning a value called 5 to a variable called num1. I can do it. Why am I doing? I'm just doing it just to show you how to dry run something. I am just showing num1 plus 3 on the screen. Then I am doing something else. I am assigning 4 into this, and I am using that to be shown on the screen. And then I am using a command. I will explain this in a minute. Then showing that. Then doing something else. Again, I will explain this and show something. And I end it. Okay. This is the flowchart I need to dry run. First of all, we have show in this. We have arrow in this. No get, but arrows are there. So variables and screens are required, right? And we have only using two variables. One called num1 and another one called num2. We don't have any other variables. That's all the variables we have. This is an expression, this is an expression, this is an expression. So adding and subtracting and whatever. Okay, so we need to do, since this has variables and screen, we need the screen to display on the screen. Whenever it says show, we have to put that. And whenever it says arrow, we have to put it into the relevant number. Remember, don't do the wrong way. That's why I said, once you write the flowchart, whether you like it or not, this is what I explained earlier. When you're dry running, just do this and see. Then only you can see whether it is going to do, whether the computer will actually do what you want to do, right? So let's dry run this and see. Okay, start. Okay, that's the beginning. Then we go to the next line. Next line says put value 5 in the variable called num1. So that is this variable. It's not going to come onto the screen. Okay, we are going to put 5 onto the screen. Comes here, right? That is from this. Then go to the next line. Next line says show num1. If you say show num1, 5 will be shown. But we are not saying show num1, we are saying show num1 plus 3. So 8 will be shown on the screen. Also remember, even though you added it here and showed, we have not told to write onto a num1. So num1 still remains 5. So if you refer to num1 any point after this, it will still be 5, because what we have done is we have added it and shown it on the screen as 8. Okay, that is this one. Right, then we go to the next one, and here number 4 we are going to assign to num2 variable. This is one. So it will again in the main memory comes in here. Nothing comes onto the screen. Then we go to the next line, which says show num2. Now the num2, in the first case we put num1 plus 3. That's why 5 plus 3, 8 came. But in this case we are just displaying the num2 itself directly. So 4 will appear. Okay, right. Then we go to the special statement. And this is a very important statement. What this statement does is what's on the right side, it will adapt and write it back to this. So basically we are going to take this and put it here. So currently, whenever you look at the right side, you have to look at the current values. What is num1 at the moment? At the moment, num1 is 5. So 5 plus 1 will become 6, right? So we are taking the 6 and writing back onto num1. And as you know, a variable cannot keep more than one value at a time. So when you write 6, the 5 will get lost. Okay, so remember that. So 5 is there, 5 plus 1, 6, we are going to write back. See, 5 will go off and 6 will get returned. So basically what we are doing, this statement, what it does is, it adds 1 to a variable. Num equals, or num arrow, num plus 1, if you say something like that, it means increment num1 by 1. Basically, the final outcome of this statement is increment num1 by 1. That is why it was 5, it became now 6. If I re-execute this statement somewhere again, this will become 7. If I re-execute it once more, it will become 8. So 1 by 1 it will increment. So in this case we don't have that, we only have it here. So it has become 6. Now when we go to the next line, and when you say show num is not 5 anymore. It's the contents is now 6. So this is going to show 6 here. Right? Okay, same way we go to the next line. Now here again the right side calculation has to be done and write it back onto the left side one, num1. So in this case num1 currently is what? 5, 6. We can't take 5. 5 is not there anymore. Current value only you have to always consider. So num1 is 6, num2 is 4. So num1 minus num2 means 6 minus 4, which is 2. 2 we are writing back onto num1. So what happens? 6 will get removed and this will become 2. So now we go to the next line. Now next line doesn't just say show num1 or num2, no, it's saying show num1 plus num2. So num1 plus num2 is 2 plus 4, which is 6, and that is shown here, right? And this is not asking anything to be changed here because there's no arrow here. This is only a show. By showing the addition of this, none of these are changing. So after this, if we refer to num1, it will always be 2 at the moment. If you refer to num2, it will be 4. Remember that. And this is basically what's going to happen. And finally, we come to the end of the dry run. So basically, if you write something like this and dry run, this is your output. You will have 5 gone, 6 gone, and finally you will have 2. And num2 we never replaced it. We just had 4 from the beginning, and still it is 4. And on the screen you are going to see 8, 4, 6, and 6. So that's the end of the dry run. So this should give you some idea about how to write processes and how to write these commands inside that and how to dry run a process. In our next session, we will see how to dry run the decision. Okay. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts, questions, please put it in the group.